Let's see if it's going to work. Good evening, good evening. For some reason, I was having technical difficulties, but hopefully it is okay. Good evening. I know I said I was going to be on at 6, but hi, Mom. But I was having technical difficulties. So, but hopefully everything is fine. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening. Good evening. If you are seeing this on your timeline because somebody shared it, let me introduce myself. My name is Shantara McBride. I'm the founder of Marvelous University, where we offer life coaching and success planning for young people, specializing in leadership development for girls and young women. I am an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a coach to girls. I partner with parents in helping them raise their marvelous girls. I'm also just thankful to be here. So, I don't anticipate this being long. There are just a few things that I have to get off my chest because they have been bubbling up. And so I didn't want to delay, and I didn't want to just call a friend and have a rant with them. And so part of being an author and a speaker and working directly with young people is that I also feel like that I have to take responsibility for when I see adults doing something that isn't right. And so I actually made some notes because I wanted to make sure that I stayed on task. So, y'all, I am shaking because I realize more and more and more that there are consequences to speaking up. And I don't think that we often take this seriously. And especially when it comes to telling young people to just speak up if they see something wrong, or speak out, or go tell a teacher and all that kind of stuff. But I am having a really hard time sitting with that. So I'm not sure if you knew this, but October is National Bullying Prevention Month. It is also Hispanic Heritage Month. It is also National Popcorn Poppin' Month, which I'm a popcorn lover, so I was happy about that. It is also Positive Attitude Month, and it is Self-Promotion Month. So, and it's a whole bunch of other stuff happening in the month of October. But the thing that I want to focus on for this evening is National Bullying Prevention Month. So, it is national, like we have a national month. We have a whole month that addresses bullying. And oftentimes we use this word with young people. And that is not sitting well with me because we are not addressing the bullying that happens with adults. So, with all the stuff that is going on, to say that bullying is a word that is not taken seriously is an understatement. And the fact that schools still have this word printed on posters and signs in their schools is, stop it. It's not, that doesn't work. And it's hard to stress how bullying is considered a joke. That word is considered a joke among young people. They will actually use it to say, well, oh, miss, that, that student hit me, that's bullying, or, it's not even taken seriously. And yet we have a whole month that talks about it. And so what is taken seriously is what young people see. They take that very seriously. So we use this language of bullying that they think is a joke. But what they watch is our behavior, and that's real to them. It's not a joke. So when schools sit back and struggle with how to address bullying in their schools, I'm often confused because I actually think there are a few trainings that actually teach adults, that teach teachers how to manage classroom, how to deal with behavior, how to change those signs from being in your school that kids really don't pay attention to. Like, there's actually some people doing the work. Shout out to Cultures of Dignity and just owning up curriculum. Like, there are people doing the work. But when I say over and over again that word bullying is a joke to young people, it's because that word is in direct opposite of what they see adults do. It doesn't match. And so the reason that I wanted to talk about this is because there are real consequences for speaking up, right? So when you think about bullying that has happened, that you saw, let's say in middle school and high school, oftentimes it was telling somebody they couldn't sit in a certain spot, or taking something from someone, maybe pushing someone, like it was stuff like that. Telling someone that if they don't do such and such, then they can't do blah, blah, blah. So there were like consequences, right? And so we would watch that. We would see that in school, and then we could say, "Oh, that is bullying." But when you see this happen every single day in our culture, and there are people in positions of power that say, if you don't do this, then there's a consequence. And if you don't do that, because that's what I think you should do, then there's a consequence. And then we are silent, and we don't speak out against that. And these are grown people. But then we get so disappointed in schools when our children will not go tell a teacher when they see someone getting bullied. That it does not match. And so when you talk about bullying in schools, I know how people like to say it is a repeated behavior, and I think, and I probably should have looked this up, and my cousin Kedrick hopefully is watching. He's an attorney, and he can tell. There's some law that passed, especially here in Texas, that it doesn't have to be, the word repeated the behavior doesn't have to be repeated anymore. But oftentimes we used to describe bullying as this repeated behavior that happens. So basically you're creating this hostile environment. If you are telling someone that if they sit at this lunch table, we're going to beat you up after school, or we're going to exclude you from being able to play, or something like that. It is no longer a repeated offense. You can say it one time, it is considered bullying. Again, that's why I have issues with that word, because I think it's a joke. But when we see adults, grown people, who repeatedly do things that intimidate others, and they repeatedly do this stuff over and over again, we don't call it bullying. We call it people being in positions of power, or we call it someone with privilege, or we use words like that, but the behavior is the same. And yet we have a whole month where we are supposed to be talking to young people about how not to bully. That doesn't match. It doesn't match. So when we talk about people in positions of power who are able to put out a threat and say that if you don't do this or you don't do that, if you don't do what I say, then here are the consequences. Even though what you are wanting to do is because of pain, is because of injustice, is because something is wrong, even though what you're doing is because of that, we are telling you that if you do that, the consequences are you could lose your job or your voice, and you could be sidelined. And yet we have a whole month set aside on bullying prevention. That doesn't make sense, right? And so when you have these systems set up, or these months set up, and especially when it comes to young people, and we're telling them that this behavior is bad, and yet we have people in positions of power who get to do that same behavior that we say is bad. It doesn't match. We adults look like complete fools. I was going to use another word like a hypocrite, but no, we look like fools to them. They don't take us seriously when we are telling them, do not bully. And so I am struggling, because my prayer is that I am not a hypocritical adult to young people. Like I probably care too much what young people think and how my partnership with them or my involvement in their lives affect them. But I do not want to be considered a hypocrite to them. And I don't want them to be able to say, but wait, Shantara, didn't you tell us that intimidating someone or excluding someone or telling someone that if they don't basically do what I say, that there's a consequence, that that's not right? Yes. But then you have people in positions of power who can do that, and then they lose their job, or they are threatened that their job will be lost, or they are sidelined. And I'm going to be real honest with y'all. I am so nervous to say this, as if somebody from the Dallas Cowboys was going to have me at their team training and now I'm not going to be invited. I don't know. It's just, there are consequences to speaking out. And, but there are real consequences if I don't. So I want to encourage young people and the adults where you have young people in your house and they are watching and they are listening and they are asking questions. We are setting them up. We're setting young people up because because we have experience, like, right, we have experience with speaking up or speaking out. And there are real consequences when you do that. But there is also something that has to be said for those who spoke up for me when I couldn't even speak for myself. Like, there has to be something said for those who came before me. And I cannot continue to sit back and see things that are happening in our culture, and yet we are telling young people to do something that adults are not willing to do. It doesn't match. They are not supposed to be leading the whole way, right? Like, at some point they are supposed to be following us. And so, how do we influence them to be the change agents that every parent that I've spoken with, right? You want your young person to be a change agent for society, and you want them to be a contributing member of society, and you want them to be alive, and you want them to be safe. Talking to them about bullying at school won't mean anything if they don't see us stand up for the adults that are bullied. It doesn't match. Most of the time when I'm in schools, there are very few outwardly people who are bullies, right? There are very few of those. What I see most are the bystanders and the people that see it going on but won't say anything, because if they say something, then they may get teased or they may get bullied, and they are afraid of the consequence. And so instead they will watch the behavior and stay silent. And then some of them even are like, "Woo, I'm glad it's not me." They picking on somebody else, but glad it's not me. All I keep thinking about is all the people that marched for me, that sat for me, that knelt for me. I just keep thinking about them. And I know a lot of people will say, well, it's not that deep. Yeah, it is, though. It is. And I hope I'm making sense. All I know is that we have a lot of bystanders in our society, and we are watching stuff happen around us, and we are so glad that it's not happening to us. But if and when it does happen to you, you are going to want people to speak up. But they didn't they didn't hear they didn't see you, they didn't hear you. And so, I mean, all I'm saying is that what we are telling young people to do and what we are showing them are two different things. And so being an educator and talking about bullying, it just seems real whack right now if I can't talk about what they see adults do. And that's the piece where I think we have to get honest with young people. I am not going to, I cannot tell anyone to not watch something. I can't tell anyone, I can't tell you where to buy. I can't tell, that's not that. But I am going to ask for us to have real conversations with young people when it comes to what bullying really is, and when it comes to the people in our culture who seems to have a lot of power that we give them, right? Because just because you own a team, you're not my boss, right? So, but if I choose to support you, then that makes you my boss, huh? So, but if I disagree with you, and then I speak up or speak out against that, there are consequences. So I would like for us to have that conversation with young people and talk about if I choose not to watch this program, or if I choose to no longer support that product, or if I choose to no longer go to that place, or if I choose to speak up when I see something going on, here are the consequences. And let's talk about those consequences and be prepared, because what we're asking young people to do at school, like we want young people to report. So if they see something, say something, right? Like we're supposed to do at the airport, but we'll do it at the airport if it's, I ain't gonna even go there. All I'm saying is we have to stop asking young people to do something that we're not willing to do. I don't, y'all know, if you don't know, I will tell you, I like football. I like football a lot. Like, I really like football. And being here in Dallas, I'm actually a Dallas Cowboys fan. But I can't participate anymore, and I think that makes me sad. And it makes me sad because I would love to just enjoy the game, right? And I know people are thinking that, why can't we just enjoy the game? Let it just be a game. All this other stuff, like, it doesn't matter, that other stuff, it shouldn't matter. Let's just enjoy the game. Oh my good, let's just enjoy the game. But the stuff that's happening, that ain't a game, y'all. Right? Like, that's not a game. And so I guess I'm struggling with resolving being able to turn certain things off. Like, I can't watch it. It's just a game anymore. I can't do it. And I definitely can't do it when an owner decides to say that people are going to lose their jobs, so their livelihood. You are going to lose your livelihood if you decide to kneel. You're going to lose your livelihood. If that ain't bullying, I don't know what is. And yet we have a whole month set aside for Bullying Prevention Month. It doesn't match. So, what's the point, Shantara? I don't even know. The point is, I wasn't vocal before about me not watching the game. I haven't been vocal. It's something my friends knew and close people to me knew. I wasn't watching. But the fact that a woman, a black woman on ESPN has been suspended for 2 weeks for answering a question. Someone tweeted, someone asked her a question on Twitter, and she answered the question. And it was along the lines of boycott the Dallas Cowboys, or boycott, if you want to do that, then boycott them. She was answering a question. And so because she answered a question, so because this reporter answered a question, she has been suspended from her job for 2 weeks. That don't match. It doesn't match. And so maybe that was the straw for me. Maybe that was it. That she answered a question. And because she answered a question, she is suspended from her job for 2 weeks. Speaking up has real consequences. And so as your children are getting speakers this month at their school, and as they're doing programs on Bullying Prevention Month, just somewhere in there, can we please talk about the real bullying that is happening in our culture so that they don't look at us like complete ignorant hypocrites? Can we just make sure to just insert that as well? Because I'm convinced that bullying is taught. I'm convinced that young people learn it. I'm convinced they don't come out the womb bullying, even though some parents will tell me otherwise, the way that, babies and toddlers run their house. But I'm convinced that bullying is taught. And so while we are preventing bullying for this month, and maybe it will carry over into November and December and the other months, all I'm saying is, can we speak truthfully to young people? Because they are watching us. They're watching us. They are watching what we are watching. They are watching how we are talking about people who are choosing to stand up for themselves. They are watching our response. And so I'm just saying, as they're watching us, can we just be honest with them? And then maybe it'll make us a little uncomfortable, because I promise you, I am so uncomfortable right now. But I'm also comfortable in speaking my truth. It doesn't match. So, that's all I had to say. I just had to say it out loud because I was honestly talking to myself. And that's not a good look. The other thing I will say is, when it comes to bullying, and when it comes to intimidation, and when it comes to behavior that is not becoming, I think the more that we talk honestly with young people, the more that they'll start listening to us. And then perhaps that'll change our behavior too. I am not telling you what to watch and what not to watch. Not doing it. I'm just sharing what I'm going to do. And if a young person asks me, I will tell them why. And I will also say that today, the straw, I was done. I was done. All right, so that's all I had. Thank y'all for joining me, and thank you for joining me even in this journey of partnering with young people. It is definitely a calling. It is definitely hard, but I'm thankful, and I'm thankful to have partners with me in doing it. If you know a middle school girl and you have not registered her for the Marvelous Girl Summit, registration is going to close very soon. And someone asked me, well, why are you doing registration at the door? I said, we're not doing registration at the door because, see, we are planning for you. And when you are planning for someone's arrival, you need to know whether or not they are coming, because we are having catered lunch. We are having t-shirts that have to be ordered. We are having gift bags that have to be assembled. And it's just not going to be this warehouse of things where no, ma'am, we are planning. We are planning. And so because we are planning, we are making sure that we are prepared. And so if you have not registered your middle school girl for the Marvelous Girl Summit that happens on October 28th here in Dallas at SMU, please do that, because registration will close soon. Why? Because we are planning for you. So if you have questions, you can find it all on my Facebook wall, because that is probably the only thing I've been talking about for the past 2 weeks. We are excited. We have some wonderful partners. We will have a photo booth. We will have college women who are much more fun than I am. We will also have fashion, and yes, I'm bringing in somebody because that is not my lane. And we will also have the fashion piece done by an actual high school freshman, and so she was a participant last year, and this year she will be joining our dynamic Leah Frazier and doing the workshop with her. So I'm excited. I'm thankful for everyone, and for those of you who have bought or who have registered for scholarships, who have registered knowing that you don't have a middle schooler or you don't live here in Dallas, but you registered anyway. Thank you so much, because we did get a few requests for scholarships, so thank you for that. If you have questions, you can email info@marvelousuniversity.com. We'll make sure somebody gets in touch with you or get back to you as soon as possible. And yeah, just thank you for hanging in there with me. Again, Bullying Prevention Month. That's October. Woohoo! But it will mean nothing if we continue to sit on the sidelines and stay silent when we see injustice happening, when we see someone being intimidated, when we see someone losing their livelihood, because that's what bullying is, right? All right, y'all. So enjoy. Hi, Evelyn. So enjoy the rest of your evening, and I don't know. I mean, Monday night. There's other stuff on TV. Talk to y'all later. Bye.